It's great to be here at Edinburgh Pride today to celebrate love, diversity and progress. Diversity makes us stronger, and seeing thousands of people march through the streets of Edinburgh is a sign of who we are.
However, we are committed to advancing equality and supporting LGBTQI and young people, including through funding of LGBT Youth Scotland. This is particularly important at a time when we are seeing a rise in attacks against the LGBTQI community.
Actually, it's why I get really, frankly, pissed off, if I'm being honest, about the fact that we have so many in the Conservative and on the right saying that multiculturalism has failed. How can it have failed when you've got, a Prime Minister of British Indian origin, Sadiq Khan is the Mayor of London, me is the First Minister of the country, and many others that have managed to get up to pretty high political office that are people of colour, and it's just used, I'm afraid, as a far-right trope, if nothing else.
Series of important senior public posts in Scotland which are held by white people, and you made a very powerful point about how white, so many important positions in Scotland are, and you said it's not good enough. Now, Scotland is 96% white, and there are some very active people, particularly on social media, who are saying Humza Yousaf's message was essentially racist. It was anti-white. And I, for one, feel that this is stirring up hatred against me as a white person. The police aren't interested. They say it's nonsense. They're certainly not going to investigate it. But under the new legislation, the police also have to, as I understand it, record it as a non-criminal hate incident, and you will be named. How do you feel about that?
So a couple of points to make. The description of those who reference that speech as hatred, I've not seen anybody who has described it in that way that isn't, frankly, part of the far right. The speech was in support of Black Lives Matters.
Many times I think that the Jewish community is not surprisingly suspicious of any ideology that calls itself nationalist. How do you distance your own type of nationalism from those other harmful ideologies? There is a sort of view that we've got one word in the English language, love, that describes a whole range of different feelings and emotions. I feel the same about the word nationalism. We've got this one word that describes whole spectrum, from the kind of nationalism that is often what is conjured up in people's minds when they hear the word nationalism of the far right, to the nationalism that led to the horrors of the Holocaust, the nationalism that's driving what is happening in Ukraine right now, through to the other end of the spectrum, which is absolutely where I would place my own party and wider movement, which is a movement for self-government, for greater responsibility and empowerment, that is not about identity, ethnic or anything else. I said earlier on, for me, the only thing the only qualification for being Scottish, in my view, is that you want to be Scottish, whether you live somewhere else but consider yourself Scottish, or you come from another country to live here. And it's a civic movement that is not about identity, and it's not about dividing people on the basis of identity.
And that message is simple. Diversity is a strength, not a weakness. We should celebrate the diversity of our country, and we should see those who want to come and live in our country as paying us a compliment. I loathe and abhor much of the narrative in modern day societies around immigration. As a country, if somebody wants to come and settle here in Scotland and make a contribution to life here, we should treat that as a compliment to our country. And we should say to those, whether they are from generations of Indigenous Scots, or whether their families came here more recently in recent decades, or whether they are new to our country in very recent times, the message we should send out is that that is something to be proud of. From generations of Indigenous Scots,
if you choose to live in Scotland, then as far as I'm concerned, you're Scottish. Whether you were born here and 3 generations of your family were born here, or whether you've only lived here for a few months, if this is your home, it should feel like your home.
From generations of Indigenous Scots.